What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Game of the Week show. I'm your host, Matt Southwell, and joining me this week, firstly, as always, Dan Gilbert. But this week we have a guest, my good friend Chris Grantham.
Hi, Matt.
Thank you for joining us. Me and Dan always appreciate having a third-person company because it's always the case of if it's just me and you, I will kind of tell you that you're wrong, whereas now you've got someone to back you up, and I'll be in the minority.
Or two people to tell me I'm wrong.
Well, this
One
is true.
or two ways.
You're always a glass half empty kind of guy, aren't you? But anyway, very quickly, for anyone that doesn't know what the Game of the Week show is, it is three friends that sit around this table every Monday to discuss the latest news topic in the video game industry. We'll then also go through this week's game releases before giving our pick of what our favourite game is and therefore the Game of the Week. So moving straight into the news, item 1 this week, Rise of Tomb Raider, the Xbox One exclusive, has got some new details. Lara is basically on a journey to discover a mythical city called, it's in Russia, I don't care what it's called. Kitchach? Do you reckon? Kitchach?
Close
anyway,
enough.
It's in Russia, and basically there's going to be another major location to be revealed, but they haven't told us that. And just more talk about kind of like the combat. The big thing, Chris, is that you can hide in foliage. What do you think about that?
I can't wait. I love hiding in trees, bushes. I probably shouldn't say that, actually. It sounds a bit dodgy.
Chris Grantham, everybody. Not on the sex offender registers. So, Dan.
Good at hiding in bushes, obviously.
So, Dan, you obviously this game is going to be coming out hopefully this year. I guess in theory, Xbox kind of bought the exclusive rights to take on Uncharted. Are you sad that you're not able to play it, or are you not really that bothered because you have Uncharted?
I'm not too fussed because, for one, as you said, Uncharted, which as good in my opinion, if not better, as the two series stand in their current form.
Yeah.
But also, it's a timed exclusive. It's not exclusive forever.
Wow.
So, in theory, at least, at some point it's going to be there for the PS4 anyway.
Yeah, it is. It's just I don't know how timed it is and whether or not I'd be interested to see, because the details are still very scarce on this.
Yeah,
and there was a big kind of shitstorm when this went down. Like the internet reacted. It's like, oh, how can Microsoft do that? It's like, it's business. It makes sense. And I'm excited for it. I thought the first game was really good, and more Tomb Raider is always a good thing in my eyes. So we will move on though to something else that could be new. Hideo Kojima, everyone knows him. He obviously made or revolutionised Metal Gear Solid and made it what it is. And he's now talked about making a open world remake. Now, guys, which one of you wants to say how excited you are first for this game?
Well, I've already said in the past that I picked up like one years and years ago, and for whatever reason didn't get on with it at the time. So I can't say I'm excited in the sense of I've played all the others. Well, hey, but it's essentially looking like a reboot, isn't it?
But it's one of, if not the greatest game of all time, isn't it, Chris?
No.
Oh. The outnumbering has commenced. Oh, yeah, I thought I explained to you that you could come on the understanding that you agreed with everything I said. So, Chris, do you not think that this is one of the greatest games that's been made?
I don't know. I'd probably be able to have a better opinion if I'd actually played it.
Okay, well, I was very excited for it, but...
Well, he upgraded from no, so if you ask him again, maybe you'll get the answer to what.
But before anyone gets too excited about this, we should say that Hideo has basically already said that he's too busy to do it, and currently no studio is currently making it. And if you look back through time, he's actually talked about this being rebooted last year and the year before. So whether or not we actually see it remains to be seen. I don't think we necessarily need it, because we have the new one coming out this year anyway.
Yeah. So
I'm always up for people going forward with games rather than remaking games. Chris, do you have any opinions on remake? Obviously, me and Dan and Ash speak about it regularly, but what's your opinion on every game being remade and upscaled? And
Well, it'll work with some games, and I like playing the same games over sometimes. Depends what they are. Like the Fable series, I love the Fable series. they remade that in HD.
Yeah, I think
Play that again. That's good, but some games it's just so unnecessary, and they're kind of like part of some games' charm is how they looked.
It's the nostalgia factor as well, isn't it? It's like, I loved that game playing it as a kid on whatever console it was on at the time. But if you remake it for the modern sort of like generation, like try and upscale it, and
it depends. Yeah, it depends how you change it.
If you change it too much, then it's just not the same.
I think most people I speak to they always say that we don't need these remakes, unless there's always the caveat. Everyone's always got that one series that they were happy for. Like, I know you played a lot of Master Chief Collection, and you were happy for that because that's a series that's close to you. I'm sure for Dan, if they remade the Mass Effect series, he would be happy about that. So everyone has that choice, and we'll just remain to see whether or not Metal Gear is another one. I'm sure I would love playing it because as a kid I loved playing Metal Gear Solid, but I won't get my hopes up. Moving down the list then to Dying Light. We spoke about this game quite a few times over the last couple of weeks. It came out and it's had a very good first week of sales. Basically, they announced via their official Twitter feed that they've had 1.2 million unique players, and that was basically as of last Monday, so a week ago. So that was 6 days after release. And 1.2. I think that's
digital as well, isn't it?
That's that's people signing into the game. So it's not obviously the physical copies didn't come out in Europe, Australia, Asia. They've only come out in the Americas.
Well, that's what I mean, as in like.
So there are people like me and Ash who continue to be strong and be like, no, we're waiting for the pretty disc. But
no, that's a good first week
for a new IP as well. I think that's very good. New IPs are always difficult to sell, and what I'm hearing from this game is only good things. Chris, obviously, zombie games. Some people, it's a kind of a Marmite love or hate them. What's your opinion on Dying Light?
I think this is the one that I ridiculed the first time I heard about it. Because
you ridiculing things? That doesn't sound like you.
Yeah. Because it just sounded like every other zombie game ever. But I have possibly been looking into buying it. So
yeah, it does. I like the parkour thing. Could have very quickly been a gimmick, but if it didn't work that well, or it became tiresome, it's really cool for a minute, for like an hour, then it becomes a hindrance. But everyone I know I say no, I don't really know them, but everyone that I read their reviews of and their opinions of on the internet, and obviously if it's on the internet it must be true, but people are having a good time with the game, so I'm excited when it comes out for us at the end of February, so should be a good one, fingers crossed. We got a couple of record sales, well, not necessarily record, but very, very impressive sales. This is a time of year where all of the companies are releasing their projected figures, or not their projected, their figures for Q4, and we're not going to go through all of them because we're not a business podcast, and we would almost definitely fuck shit up if we try to analyse the figures. But two things that I did want to talk about very briefly was the Call of Duty franchise has now made over $11 billion since it first came out in 2003. Now just think about how much money that is. It's a lot. Yeah. I mean, I think it's been like the best-selling game for the last 6 years, or like kind of
one of the best.
It hits the top charts every year, and despite what a lot of people think about it, I don't know I know you generally kind of enjoy the campaigns. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yep. What was the last one I played?
Ghosts?
No, one before that.
Modern Warfare 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I did sort of like tire of them, but that was me more tiring of first-person shooters for a while in general, rather than necessarily as Call of Duty. But I played a lot of the multiplayer stuff, like World at War, like the previous two Modern Warfares and so on.
Yeah.
Like Black Ops. So I did play a lot of the multiplayer as well. It's fun, but at the same time, there's only so much you can be mediocre at those.
It's very much it's not a video game now. It's almost like a profession playing Call of Duty multiplayer. And Chris, I think we've talked about this before. Is unless you get in at the ground level at the very start, then you might as well not bother because you end up being so far behind.
Yeah, and everyone has all the best guns and the best equipment. It's just It's not fun
Like,
catching
yes,
up.
I mean,
That is why Halo is better.
Yeah, everyone is on a level
Because
playing
everyone's on a
field.
level playing field. Like, you're really good at this game. Have better weapons than the idiots in this game, just so you can kill them even more.
Yeah.
So that I mean, but it works. You know,
Yeah.
everyone loves it. It's huge. And that is a lot of money. And I really, Chris, you'll probably remember the very first Call of Duty we used to play kind of at LAN parties on the PC and stuff.
PC one. Yeah.
That was, yeah, that's right. We went to LAN parties. We were cool. But yeah, that was, I loved that game.
Yeah.
And I would still play them now if people like Blockbuster still existed. I'm happy to rent a game for a week for like £6-7 to play the campaign, but I don't need that game on my shelf because I don't really have any interest in the online component.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the campaigns are normally like, what, 8 hours?
Yeah, that's the one problem with them is like as a single player game, it just doesn't hold up as well as it used to. I find because it's the multiplayer really that those games are coming out for.
Yeah, I know. That's the way of the world. But anyway, moving on to another really impressive sale this week. It was GTA V. We speak about this game every now and then. It's a little game by
just every
Rockstar
now
that
and
pops
then,
up.
Yeah, small one.
They have sold in over 45 million copies. That's a lot of copies. Sold in, just to clarify, that doesn't mean they necessarily been bought.
That's
by
shipped to
people.
retailers.
That's shipped to retailers. So, and 10 million of those are on the new gen.
And none of that includes PC.
Well, yeah, because the PC doesn't
Because
exist.
it's not out yet, exactly.
Which I'm sure Chris has a very strong opinion on.
But there is plenty of PC pre-order, is what I'm saying. It's like that,
I'm sure
that's
yeah.
happening, but it's just
Yeah, I mean, you're someone that's kind of a lot more tied into the PC gaming community than we are. Mainly because we are not tied in at all. But like,
I own a PC.
I don't even own a PC. No. How big do you think this game's going to sell on PC when it comes out, if it eventually comes out, or do you think people are kind of getting fed up of it?
It's difficult to say because I guess most people, if they really wanted the game, they're probably going to have a console. They'll buy it on the console. They're not likely to go and buy it on PC as well.
No,
But then there are a lot of people who do only game on PCs, and
yeah, that's the market that it's pretty much.
it's the mod, because I know GTA 4 had like a huge mod community, didn't it?
oh,
And
it
there
was,
a
yeah,
lot
that
of-
was.
And that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, you know, if there's 10 million on just PS4 and Xbox, based on the install base of those consoles, I could see it easily another 10 going to PC,
I
possibly.
guess there's a potential.
But like 10 is still like way more than what any game's like. For example, like kind of someone like Watch Dogs was considered an amazing success, and they sold about 6 million units. So that just puts into scale like how much GTA has sold, and I'm amazed at how much has actually sold on the new gen.
Yeah.
Because you say people won't buy it on the PC, but I had it on the PS3 and I bought it for PS4. Is that because I'm stupid or?
Yeah.
Cheers. But there we go. Yeah. So. Very much so. Get some shares in Activision and Rockstar and all that because their games seem to do pretty well. We'll move on to the final item on our news this week. And is it a possibility that we could be seeing re-releases of PS4s and Xbox Ones later on this year? Well, the CPO of Netflix believes that we will be getting new consoles or new iterations of our consoles, which will be 4K ready. Now, I'm just going to put it out there and say he's wrong. But what do you guys think? Because he believes that Sony promised a hardware revision. Like, do you think we're ready for 4K consoles yet this year?
I don't think it's mainstream enough yet. I don't see it as being like beneficial for them because most people don't have a 4K TV.
Unless they're stupid. That's to Ash, by the way, not to Chris.
Yeah, but it's like you didn't see them suddenly come out with like 3D ready versions of like the 360 and the PS3 and stuff like that when that was going on. Because that was considered the next big thing. Everyone's going to have a 3D ready TV and all of that. So therefore, that didn't happen.
It came into some games, but it wasn't a big
Yeah,
push.
but you know what I mean? It wasn't like the consoles got completely revamped to accommodate it, is what I mean.
I would say 4K is more of a big deal than 3D though, because 3D at the end of the day is still a bit of a gimmick, whereas 4K is just the next level of resolution. Like when people said HD was coming out, no one ever called that a gimmick. It was inevitably going to happen. 4K gaming.
But we're not at that stage yet. Is what I mean.
The transition to HD took years.
Yeah, well, it did. It was people now still buy DVDs over Blu-rays, so people haven't even fully adopted HD yet, let alone going on to 4K.
Yeah.
So, and also, again, Chris, you're more kind of tech savvy probably than me and Dan. Well, maybe I shouldn't shoot you down, Dan. You might be more tech savvy than me, but
no.
Do you not think that would they need to release new consoles for 4K? Would it not be maybe like a firmware update? Because the consoles are quite powerful.
I was going to ask this because I have not dealt with any kind of 4K hardware. I don't know what's required of it, but I assume they still use HDMI cables. In which case, surely that information can go from the Xbox or the PlayStation to the TV. And I'm pretty sure they're powerful. Well, if your Skybox can stream you 4K images, then I'm pretty sure that Xbox and the PlayStation are perfectly powerful enough. So it seems to me like it's more of a software thing, not a hardware thing at all.
That's completely what I think. They're pretty powerful machines. Mm-hmm. They definitely. I would be surprised if they didn't have the capability to run 4K. And the guys at Sony and at Microsoft, they're not stupid. They know these consoles have got to last 10 years. They, in the back of their mind, are seeing 4K kind of starting to make a bit of movement on the scene. So they have to make their consoles powerful enough in the event that they have to... what happens if they have a 10-year plan and then halfway through it 4K really kicks off? They can't be like, we've got to redesign our whole console. Well, that's what I think anyway. It's got to be ready for it.
Unless they just want to be able to have a marketing campaign of the PS4K.
If they do that,
I know it's a terrible joke, but it's like if that's the way they want to go.
Oh, Dan, has anyone ever told you should be working in marketing? You come up with so many good ideas,
so many awful puns.
Somebody even said that they're unbelievable.
Oh dear.
See, if this wasn't my show and I wasn't editing it, I would cut that out, but I'm going to keep it in. So, that's about it on the news front. Anyway, we'll move on to this week's games, and not a lot this week. We've been talking the last couple of weeks that games are starting to kind of pick up in January, but now we've kind of got a bit of a lull as we kind of until maybe like The Order, I suppose, and then Dying Light Physical. There's big games coming at the end of this month, but to start it off, we've got a few, but we'll go through them still, obviously, all the same. And first up, the PlayStation 4 game, Risk. Yeah. So anyway, no. Some people depend.
It's just another one of those transitions from board game to digital board game.
There's a lot of them going on, isn't there? We've seen Monopoly, obviously,
Monopoly's
we talked about,
and
I'm sure there's a battleships game, and I'm sure there's a lot more. But anyway, no, this visually, I think it looks quite kind of like tight and neat and tidy in terms of like the trailer, but. Surely there's got to be better strategy games out there than one that's basically been designed from a board game. Surely there's got to be... Well, in fact, I know there are some very good strategy games out there. And whether or not this will match up against them, I'm not going to say it won't, because I haven't played it and I haven't read any reviews that give it a opinion on it. So, but is this either a game that either of you will be picking up? Well, Chris, obviously it might be a bit difficult for you.
I was actually thinking of buying a PS4 specifically to get Risk.
There you
go.
I
was expecting his answer to be he was going to go and pick up the actual board game.
That would be a cheaper option, actually. That's a good idea.
So if maybe the PS4 is a bit out of your price range, then maybe you could pick up a PS Vita, because we've got a couple of games for Vita this week. But first up is Criminal Girls Invite Only. So this game is... interesting. We should say that. To me, it looks... I'm not going to stereotype...
Do you want to explain first off, it's a Japanese
RPG?
Because
I was actually basically about to say, I don't want to appear racist, but it very much looks like something that only the Japanese could make. But he just jumps straight and goes, it's Japanese, it's fine, that explains everything.
Because it's like a lot of their games... are marketed and
they have a lot
differently compared to European.
They have a lot of sexuality in their games, and this game's basically it's an RPG, like you said. You're like a instructor that has to kind of bring a group of naughty teenage girls into line. They have to atone for their sins, and well, you'll be seeing from the video that some of the artwork is interesting. Let's put it that way. But in terms of a game, it's actually been getting some pretty good reviews in terms of its actual gameplay. If you kind of peel back the kind of maybe over the topness of the kind of storytelling, it has actually got a good game under there. So there you go, Chris. You can pick up a PS Vita and then get yourself Criminal Girls invite only. It's probably a nice game to play like when you're on your own on a Friday night or something.
Yeah.
Well, maybe one here that interests you a little bit more. Game of Thrones, Telltale's episode 2, obviously coming out for pretty much all platforms. The Lost Lords is the name of this episode. Are you I know Dan's opinion on Telltale, but are you a fan of Telltale games? I know you're a fan of Game of Thrones.
I've not played any of them yet, and they all pique my interest, and I just never could buy them. I'm sure I'll catch up at some point, but I love Game of Thrones, and so I might have a look.
Reviews are coming out and basically saying that this one isn't quite as good as the first episode. That's what people are saying. I haven't played it because I like to generally play these once all the episodes are out, because having played Life is Strange last week and playing the first episode, I was like, oh great, I can't now find out what happens. I've got to wait another 6 weeks. So I'll be waiting for the summer, I guess, when all of these are out. But if you're excited for Game of Thrones, it's kind of a good thing to be playing in the lead up to the TV show when it airs in a couple of months. Moving on, some more classic games. Suikoden 1 and 2. They've been out in the US for a while on the PS Classic, but are now finally here for the European people. None of us have played the games originally when they were on the PlayStation 1. But is this a game that would excite you? It's a JRPG surrounded basically the political struggles of Scarlet Moon Empire, apparently, but it's very, very much compared in kind of the same ilk of Final Fantasy VII, and apparently it's a must-play RPG.
Yeah, so. It's like I was looking at reviews and everything about it. It definitely had a lot of positive. It's like I played Final Fantasy VIII. That's the only one of those that I ever owned. Like I did enjoy it when I played it, so it's something I might look at. Because like when something's got that much sort of like praise about it, it can't be doing anything wrong. No,
it's very well regarded in the JRPG community. So I don't know, Chris, is this something that you would maybe be interested in, or?
Yeah, I honestly hadn't heard of it until you told us that we'd be talking about it, and it does look good. It looks interesting, and it's a bit different as well. Classic is a word that is referenced quite a lot when people are fighting about it. It seems so.
Yeah. It literally is a classic. It's on the PlayStation Classic.
It's 20 years old now. So.
God, that's depressing. The 90s is 20 years ago. That's really depressing. It just makes me feel old all the time to think that we're like 15 years into this new century. It's just, Anyway, we're not going to reminisce. I've got a couple more games here. Aeternoblade, which is for the PS Vita. Looks really, really pretty. It's a side-scrolling action-adventure game with kind of a time reversal mechanic into it. So we were talking last week about there being a lot of side-scrolling games, but this one kind of very much piques my interest as a Vita game. I like the time reversal mechanic. Basically, it's a polite way of saying when you fuck up, you can go back and try again, and I like that.
Yeah, always good.
Well, we always say that like games like that, when there's a lot in the same sort of genre, you need something different, and I think that's that difference maker.
Yeah, just it adds in that little mechanic, and I'm sure there's a way that you kind of utilise it to your advantage in some form. Moving on then, 2 more games. We're not going to go into a huge amount of detail on these because we did speak about them last week. Apotheon, which is currently available on PlayStation Plus, and also Kick and Fennick, also available on PlayStation Plus. If you want to find out more details on those, I'd recommend just checking out our video last week where we kind of talk about them in details. I don't want to kind of bore people with just repeating ourselves over and over. And this way we get more views on our review. So incentives all round. Chris, do you want to add anything on those final 2 games? Just as obviously you weren't here last week, or not? Is there anything to say on Apotheon?
I saw it a while ago and it looks good. It looks fun. But I've never played it, to be honest.
No, it does look good, and I will be playing it, seeing as it's free.
I do like the artwork for it. It's got that different sort of look about it compared
Aztec
to
look kind of style, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it looks like the size of the side of the Greek vases, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of style. It's pretty cool. So there we go. That's all the games this week. Like I said, not the most exciting, but obviously, you got Suikoden there, which is obviously very well regarded. You got Game of Thrones if you're into that, and there's a couple of others, obviously. Which would you guys be picking as your game of the week if you had to? Chris, as you're the guest, we'll let you go first.
I think I'm going to check out Suikoden. I think I'm going to have a look, see if I can get hold of that. So yeah, I think that would probably be my choice.
A good choice. I'm sure a lot of RPG players will be agreeing with you.
I agree with Chris on that one.
Yeah.
To be honest, yeah, I looked at that last night when I was looking up everything and went, I like the look at that one.
Yeah, it does look very good. Just to be different, I'm going to pick Criminal Girls because that's just how I roll, which says everything you need to know about me as a person. So that's about it for this week on the Game of the Week show. If you have enjoyed it, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, share us with your friends so that they can all enjoy us as well. If you want to speak to us, that sounded a bit weird, didn't it? If you want to speak to us about any of the news items we've covered this week, or any of the game releases, maybe if you've played Criminal Girls, what did you think of it? Please keep it clean though. There's maybe children read in the comment section. But for now, Chris, thank you for joining us.
Cheers.
It's always a pleasure to have you here and even more of a pleasure when Ash isn't here as well. And Dan, thank you as always.
Cheers, Matt.
And everyone out there, we will see you next Monday.